Hey everyone. So we've been doing a lot more expos, honestly, than I ever thought that we would. Like the one-on-one interaction when we very first started doing this, I didn't think I really wanted. But now after like helping out in a couple like reptile specialty stores on like really busy days and going to a couple of these shows and having these one-on-one interactions, I'm really starting to enjoy that more. With that in mind, I did notice something with a lot of people getting into their first reptile pet. And for the most part, because I'm more of a snake guy than a lizard guy or an amphibian or toad guy or tortoise guy, I'm going to focus a little bit more on that, but that absolutely applies to kind of everything for sure. But I was noticing that there's kind of a lot of people know a little bit of like the base standard research about what they need to get started when they decide they want to get a reptile pet, but there are a few items that I think that after you've been doing it for a little while, they're kind of second knowledge to like just easy common sense off the cuff things that we know that are absolutely essential, that a lot of people getting in the hobby very first they don't quite know yet, and they need a little bit of experience and time and falling through some things before they get there. And so today I want to talk about 5 items that I think will really improve your odds of being a very successful reptile keeper off the bat before, having to go through those windfalls first. So, with that in mind, we're just going to get right into it. And so, what I think the number one most important thing, starting with your pet reptile, and again, I usually stick with snakes, but again, is start with a good substrate. So, we just got back from Show Me Your Reptiles or Show Me Your Snakes show down in El Paso, Texas. And I just met these guys. They're absolutely cool. These are Permian exotics. These guys specially make different blends of substrates for individual things between more tropical species, tropical species, subtropical, more arid species like a bearded dragon, and then a special blend for more isopods and inverts, because he absolutely breeds a lot of different species of inverts and isopods specifically. But number one, go check these guys out. They're awesome. But there are other companies too, like the Bio Dude, who also I love them. They're really cool. Go check them out. And Josh's Frogs, who do a bunch of really cool stuff too. So if you guys go and find a very specific substrate for the type of reptile that you want to keep, not to say that there's anything wrong with some of the more readily available commercial ones, but I really think that companies like Biodude, Permian, Josh's Frogs, who are taking the extra step of going into what the individual closer to more specific things than just kind of a generalization one, or a good stepping stone towards better reptile and husbandry keeping in general. And so, not to say that I don't only use these guys too, I do use commercial stuff. I make my own blends of different things: topsoil, cypress mulch, different things of aspen, a whole bunch of other stuff. I do use commercial stuff plus these really cool ones too. But with that being said, I really think that's a good stepping stone, and we'll keep on going with that. The next one that is a big thing for a lot of people, it doesn't matter where you are, is heating. Humidity comes to that too, but heating is a really big thing that is a huge part of keeping reptiles, because regardless of where the reptile comes in the world, there's still ectothermic. So that means they're cold-blooded. That means that they don't generate their heat, so they have to go get it from somewhere. And so keeping in captivity, we have to do it ourselves for them. So they're primarily of what I'm going to show you today is about that. So to start with, let's talk about regulating that heat, because the reptiles need to regulate for them. So regardless of what heat source you use, I think it's always a good idea to have a very good, reliable, and consistent thermostat. So not a thermometer, not the thing to register it, but an actual thermostat. And there are a number of ones on there, but as one that I have found that has been working very consistently for me for the last year and a half are these Inkbirds. These guys do a lot more stuff with like brewing and like doing with germination of seeds, but they also have quite a bit of computing power in here that keeps tracks of day and night shifts, of 2 different ones here that has adjusting between like what it's allowed to do between fluctuations, where you need to keep it. It's a really cool, very consistent one with a very nice long probe. It is plastic coated, and I feel the metal probes are a little bit more accurate with their temperature reading. And so with that in mind, something like a Spider T-Stat or a Herb-Stat are really good. I think the Vivarium Electronics or the VE 100, 200, 300, etc. are also very good, but I think they fall in kind of the same category as these Inkbirds, where they are very consistent, very reliable, but maybe kind of not like the That's just my personal preference. I use VEs too. I have a Herb-Stat, and I have a lot of these Inkbirds on the racks that I've been building too. So it's just kind of determined on what you want, but go through and check out. There's a lot of other people who've done videos in this. I think Snake Discovery did it too, and I'm sure that Wiccan's Wicked did it as well. Talked about probably good thermostats, and they probably gave a little bit better review. I'm just kind of covering a good few choices that you can have, and this is a little bit more of an economic choice. Now that we've covered, regulating temperature, let's talk about something that actually emits the heat. And so when a lot of people very first get started, they have those stick on above, overhead, like bright white, bright red, whatever heat emitters. And there's a lot of things that suggest that red bulbs aren't the best for reptiles. And even myself, I have phased out, I think, every single red bulb that I no longer use anymore. And with that in mind, for good, consistent 24-hour heat, something like this ceramic heat emitter is a way to go. So again, for snakes, the underheat is a little bit better for them, but if you live in a very cold area, you have a very large space, sometimes you need above heating as well, in addition to UVB and ultraviolet and different spectrums of lighting. So that's why these ceramic heat emitters work very well. They don't have any visible spectrum of light, so you can have them running 24 hours a day. They're much more sturdy. I can do this with a ceramic, but you would look at me like I'm crazy if I was doing this with a regular incandescent bulb, a mercury vapor, or anything like that. So these things are much more hardy. They do come with a bit more of an expensive price tag than some of just like the regular like bright white or bright red bulbs, but they're more sturdy, they last longer, and like, if you have kids or a very busy household or dogs or cats and it gets knocked over, these guys will last a little bit longer for you. I really like these. They come in a variety of different watts, just like wattages, just like the other bulbs too, but I think these are really great. So if you ever look at any of my setups, there's usually a UVB bulb, either the coil or a strip, and then sometimes I have an additional heat bulb, and then one of these if necessary, depending on the size of the setup. And that's what I really encourage a lot of people to get if they decide to do overheat, if the bottom is not enough, or even if you have a lizard, this plus UVB works really well, or adjusting whereas to get that proper thermal gradient for the thermal regulation of the reptiles. And now with that being said, so we've talked about how we emit the heat, how we regulate the heat, but when it comes to actually checking to make sure your temps are correct, because your thermostat can be off. Wherever you have the probe, it may not accurately be reading where you want the temps, where your animal will be, where it will be in the cage. You can try to put the probe like on the hot spot, but it gets moved around. It's an animal. It doesn't work that way. So that's why I think these guys are any reptile keeper, breeder, hobbyist, pet owner's best friend. These guys right here. They've really gone up in price because of COVID and everything like that, but they are starting to come down. And these guys are they are your best friend, I promise you. And so I don't mean the ones that are like good for your head. I'm talking about the ones that shoot the actual infrared dot and register the actual temperature there. And honestly, if you can, try to find two different brands, because they're pretty close. Let me try that again. Let's see. So they're off by a little bit. And so that's what I do, is I have two different brands, and whenever I set up a new thing or I make an adjustment, try to move the hotspot, upgrade an enclosure, I always check with both of these, because this was off by about 3 degrees. It's not a lot, but you want to make sure that your temps are accurate, which is the best for whatever species of reptile you have in the enclosure that you've chosen to put them into. So if you can't, at least get one, but do try to get two different brands of these. In the videos, and I'm not going to name names, but because I don't do that, but we've all seen the videos of people like hand feeding the reptiles or whatever that is. And as I've said many times on the channel, you'll never see me do a feeding video, perhaps with like a lizard with bugs or something. But and I don't even think I've done that, to be completely honest with you, maybe on a chameleon video, but I'm never going to show a feeding video, just because in the wrong hands, and there are a lot of those right now, it can set a bad tone. So while it is cool and interesting, I'm personally never going to show it, and I won't condemn people that do. But with that being said, I have been mistagged by a feeding response more than enough times to know I'm not the biggest fan of it. So going and finding a good set of tongs or hemostats, big fan of that. And it doesn't matter if I'm feeding baby ball pythons or if I'm feeding a giant, a big boa constrictor, or I'm trying to tong feed the rhinoceros iguana that we're still working on. Kaiju still hates me. But these guys, they come in a variety of sizes. They come in locking and unlocking. And, people might call me, a sissy or whatever for not wanting to do that. But most of the time, I'm still warmer than whatever it is I'm trying to feed them. And like I said, I'm a snake guy. I don't like getting tagged. I don't like having the snake possibly lose teeth, causing an infection, everything like that. So I'm just going to stick with this for my own sissy sake and the animal safety. I've found them at different reptile specialty stores. I found them on Amazon and in a bunch of different places. They're very inexpensive. They hold up very well. I wouldn't ever say that they're dishwasher safe, but they can be cleaned very well because these are stainless steel, because they're essentially, most of the time, they're close to medical grade stainless steel. So these guys, I have a variety of different sizes and I use them for everything. So please, 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 I'm not going to tell you how to use them, but I will say that these are very handy. And surprise, doing a special secret item. So it's actually going to be 6. Shh, don't tell. And I'll know any of you guys if you actually watch the video all the way through, so you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But this thing has been a lifesaver, and it's unfortunately a little bit dirty because it's in heavy use right now. For someone who does a lot or likes to do some DIY or be a little bit thrifty or economic with their builds and setups and accessories, this soldering pen / iron, lifesaver. Very cheap, very, very handy. And I've shown it in a couple of the different builds and setup videos in the past. These guys are great. You just plug it right in, let it get warm, make sure whenever you're using it, you're doing it outside. And then you get to make your own hides, water bowls, and putting in air holes and whatever. And if you decide to use a plastic tub for either a rack system or a large conversion tub for an enclosure for whatever reptile you may choose to put in there, these guys make it a lot easier. You avoid the sharp edges if you're using scissors or a knife or something like that. It's nice and clean with this. It can cause a little bit of that, the melted plastic little bubble rim. So you can just shave that down on one spot with a little bit of sandpaper. But these guys make great. So for instance, these guys right here comes in a pack of 6. I think I got them at Target for $3. Take this, get it warm. Again, well ventilated or outside area. You just do that, and then you have yourself a very economic, very inexpensive, machine washable, easy to, disposable to a degree, but certainly more than the little deli cup type things, hide for small snakes. And you can use them for much larger ones like this one. They're 50 cents a bowl, so you cut that out. Now, that being said, and apologies, I'm a little bit congested and stuffy right now. PSA, don't lick doorknobs, kids. These guys make very good, inexpensive hides. With that being said, if you are able to, please do support your local specialty reptile store. Put your money back into the community if you can. I know I do whenever I can, hence, shout out. It's all about community. But when you have a lot, you're just getting started or you're working your way up to it, something like this, which is $20 to $30 at any hardware store, sometimes maybe a Walmart or even online, this will save you a lot of money in the long run if you're doing a lot of these. I produce 50 or so baby ball pythons this year. I want to have them more than just on a paper towel, so I want to give them a hide, a little bit extra. This pen makes it so I can do this and put it in every single one of the tubs for the babies, for the juveniles, for the grow-outs, and the holdbacks. And then further and further up to where I'm using, the cat litter pans that are flipped upside down that I also do this with for the larger snakes, the large adult ball pythons and small boa constrictors. So there you go. 5 things that I think that will kind of give you a better leg into keeping these animals just a little bit better. Again, I know that many people do when they first get into this, they do a fair bit of research, and even more as I'm learning talking to people at the expos. A lot of people don't come in with absolutely no knowledge, and I usually end up talking myself out of a sale, telling them to go buy the stuff or go somewhere else instead of getting from me. Sometimes they end up going to another vendor and they take home a baby ball python of their own. but at least I know I try to give them more information to have them have a more informed decision, which is usually the commercial stuff too, but also items like this, which can be a very, economic, a little bit less inexpensive, because sometimes that initial setup cost is a little bit much for people sometimes. And while I think that that's a good thing, that it shouldn't just be a quick instant snap of the spur of the moment decision, but it still can be, a little bit scary sometimes. So these things that I find that have worked very well for me for a long period of time can work for a lot of other people. So today, I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you got a lot from it. Do my best to, not ramble on about it. Hopefully I'm giving you guys some pretty good ideas, information, or heck, maybe you guys already even knew about it. Again, apologies. But hopefully you got something out of this video. Hopefully you can tell maybe you found an idea for Christmas for, a reptile enthusiast, or for if you want to get your brother, son, daughter, cousin, uncle, sister's aunt's cousin third removed, an animal or something for them for their future, Christmas noodle. Hopefully I gave you a good idea. Please, if you can, like and subscribe, hit the bell notification, lets YouTube know that I exist, which is always absolutely great. If you can, go check out the podcast. I didn't forget about it. I know it's been a long hiatus. I'm going to get back to it. I promise you guys, I have been doing so much stuff, not just the expos, and I promise you will find out what that is. I know I've been, subtly dropping in it a lot lately, but I promise that update is coming for you guys soon. If you want to get further knowledge go check out the Patreon. I put exclusive or first up-to-date information on there first. If you want to go check that out, absolutely appreciate it. If you don't need to, absolutely don't feel the need. If you can, go check out US Arc, and I'm going to be saying that a lot in a lot of the videos coming up, so just prepare for that. These guys are what's going to make it so that way I can keep doing what I love to do, and you guys can keep having them, and other people can keep giving you this really cool content for you as well. Hope you're having a great day. Hope you have a happy Christmas, happy holidays, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, everything like that. Hope you're having a great day, and we'll check you next time.